For 100 years, British riders were Tour de France outsiders, with no overall wins, only heartbreak, tragedy, and near misses like Tom Simpson's fatal climb and Robert Millar's 8-second defeat. Yet somehow, within just one generation, Britain became cycling's undisputed powerhouse. What triggered this transformation, and what did it truly cost? The answer starts with scandal, scarcity, and an unlikely revolution that changed sport forever. In the 1960s, British cycling's brightest hope was Tom Simpson, a miner's son from County Durham. Simpson clawed his way to the top of the sport, winning a Tour de France stage in 1965 and outclimbing legends like Jacques Anquetil in the mountains. But the price of chasing glory on shoestring budgets was steep. On July 13, 1967, Simpson collapsed and died on the slopes of Mont Ventoux, his body pushed beyond its limits by a cocktail of exhaustion, amphetamines, and heat. His final words were, "Put me back on my bike." They became a haunting symbol of ambition outstripping support. A generation later, Robert Millar, a wiry Scotsman with a climber's build, nearly rewrote the script. In 1984, Millar came within seconds of a Grand Tour victory, finishing just 8 seconds behind the winner at the Vuelta a España. At the Tour de France that year, he placed 4th overall, the highest finish by a Briton to that point. Millar's solo attacks in the Pyrenees and Alps won him the King of the Mountains jersey, but not the yellow jersey. The gap between British talent and cycling's top prize remained stubbornly wide. For decades, these were the stories Britain produced: flashes of brilliance, heartbreak on the biggest stages, and a sense that the world's toughest race was just out of reach. Raw talent and courage were not enough to overcome the lack of resources, infrastructure, and institutional backing. The cost was measured not only in lost races, but in the toll taken on the riders themselves. In 1997, British cycling's fortunes changed with a single grant, £900,000 from the newly created National Lottery. For a sport long accustomed to scraping by, this was a lifeline. The man tasked with transforming that windfall into results was Peter Keane, a sports scientist and former coach who believed in planning, measurement, and accountability. These ideas were almost foreign to British cycling at the time. Keane's arrival as performance director brought a new blueprint. Instead of relying on chance, he submitted a detailed 8-year plan to the UK Sports Council, promising a rise in world rankings and Olympic medals. His vision convinced officials to back cycling with a 6-year deal worth £2.5 million, announced in 1999. Money that dwarfed anything the sport had seen before. The first priority was infrastructure. Manchester's National Velodrome, opened in 1994 but underused, became the centre of operations. Lottery funds paid for upgrades, new equipment, and the hiring of specialist coaches and support staff. For the first time, British riders had access to world-class facilities and structured support. Keane's approach demanded results. Funding came with strict conditions: hit medal targets or risk losing support. The focus shifted to track cycling, where Olympic medals seemed within reach. Every pound spent was tracked, every performance analysed. By the early 2000s, British cycling's budget had grown from near bankruptcy to millions per year, setting the stage for a pipeline of talent and a culture of ambition that would soon reshape the sport. Mark Cavendish grew up racing on the boards of British velodromes, his legs honed by the relentless rhythm of track sprints. By the time he exploded onto the road cycling scene, his finishing speed had already been tested in the world's most demanding laboratory, the track. Cavendish's path from the Manchester Velodrome to the Champs-Élysées illustrates the new British model: nurture talent in controlled, data-rich environments, then unleash them on the world's biggest stages. In 2005, Cavendish won gold in the Madison at the World Championships. 3 years later, he was winning Tour de France stages. his sprinting engine built from years of short, brutal efforts on the track. Alex Dowsett followed a similar arc, but his specialty was the time trial. After placing 7th at the Under-23 World Championships in 2009, Dowsett's ability to hold high power for long stretches attracted the attention of pro teams. The discipline and pacing drilled into him on the track translated to the road, where he became a British time trial champion and set a new national hour record. Dowsett's rise was no accident. It was the product of a system designed to identify physiological strengths early, then refine them with targeted support. These stories were no longer exceptions. British cycling's pipeline produced a steady flow of riders who could transition from the controlled chaos of the velodrome to the tactical complexity of road racing. Funding wasn't just about better bikes or shinier facilities. It meant that athletes like Cavendish and Dowsett could spend years perfecting their craft, surrounded by coaches, sports scientists, and support staff who measured every watt and every heartbeat. The result was a new kind of British cyclist, engineered for success on both track and road. Dave Brailsford entered British cycling with the belief that winning was not about one big breakthrough, but about hundreds of tiny ones. His philosophy, later called marginal gains, argued that if a team improved everything it did by just 1%, the results would be extraordinary. Under Brailsford, attention shifted to every detail, from the angle of a rider's helmet in the wind tunnel to the type of massage gel used after training and to the way athletes washed their hands. At the Athens Olympics in 2004, British riders slept on their own custom mattresses and used personal hand sanitizer to avoid illness. These measures might have seemed trivial, but they added up over time. This approach demanded a new kind of team structure. With the launch of Team Sky in 2010, Brailsford brought a corporate mindset to professional cycling. Team Sky's budget, backed by BSKYB, reached up to £30 million, allowing it to operate more like a Fortune 500 company than a traditional sports team. Resources were allocated according to a 70-20-10 principle. 70% went to riders and direct performance, 20% to support staff, and 10% to research and innovation. This split was a sharp contrast to the old model where almost everything went to athletes and little was left for science or staff. Inside Team Sky, nothing was left to chance. Sleep quality was tracked, hotel rooms were cleaned to strict protocols, and every piece of equipment was tested for aerodynamic advantage. The focus on hygiene and recovery became as important as training itself. By combining these marginal gains with a clear, business-like team structure, Brailsford built an organisation ready to challenge cycling's established order. Bradley Wiggins lined up for the 2012 Tour de France with the weight of British cycling history on his shoulders. The year before, he had crashed out with a broken collarbone. Now, recovered and relentless, he powered through the mountains and the time trials, winning 3 stages and wearing the yellow jersey for 13 days. On the Champs-Élysées, Wiggins crossed the line as the first British winner of the Tour de France. His triumph was more than a personal victory. It was the moment decades of ambition, investment, and belief finally paid off. Chris Froome took the reins after Wiggins, winning the Tour de France 4 times between 2013 and 2017. His relentless climbing and metronomic time trialing left rivals searching for answers. Yet, as the victories stacked up, so did the questions. Critics argued Team Sky's dominance drained the race of drama, with tightly controlled tactics and a budget unmatched in the peloton. The debate sharpened when Froome's use of therapeutic use exemptions, permitted for medical reasons, drew scrutiny from journalists and fans. Supporters pointed to rigorous testing and compliance with the rules, while skeptics wondered if science and money had tilted the playing field too far. Between 2007 and 2017, British cyclists claimed 178 world titles and 66 Olympic or Paralympic gold medals. Local participation soared, with guided rides in London tripling and Yorkshire's Grand Depart drawing thousands to the roadsides. The transformation reached far beyond the podium, reshaping cycling's place in British life. British riders now set the pace and the standard at cycling's highest level. As nations invest in science and strategy, the race for dominance never stops. The yellow jersey changes hands, but the pursuit of innovation remains relentless. What will define the next era of champions? Share your thoughts below.